The name Vorthok made entire star systems tremble with fear. These massive creatures ruled the darkest corners of space with claws that could tear through starship holes and breath that could melt steel. For 300 years, they had been the nightmare that kept spacers awake during long journeys between worlds. Captain Li Jun had seen many terrifying things during his 15 years exploring the Outer Rim territories. He had faced pirates, survived asteroid storms, and navigated through dangerous nebulas that swallowed ships whole. But even he felt his hands shake slightly when he heard reports of Vorthok ships in nearby systems. "Captain, we are receiving multiple distress signals from the Kepler sector," reported communications officer Han So-young from her station on the bridge of the Soul's Pride. 3 merchant vessels went missing there in the past week. Li Jun studied the star charts. On his command screen, the Kepler sector was known Vorthok hunting ground. Most captains avoided it completely, choosing longer routes that added weeks to their journeys rather than risk encountering the predators. "Any survivors?" he asked. "No, sir. Search and rescue teams found only debris fields. The attacks match Vorthok patterns." Chief Engineer Kim Byora looked up from her technical station. She was young for her position, only 28, but Li Jun trusted her completely with his ship's systems. "Captain, those merchant ships were armed with military-grade weapons. If the Vorthok destroyed them so easily, we should stay far away from that sector." Medical Officer Park Hyun-woo nodded in agreement. He had joined the crew just 6 months ago, but had already proven himself during several dangerous missions. The medical reports from previous Vorthok attacks are horrible. Their claws inject a poison that keeps victims conscious while their bodies shut down, and their acid breath melts organic tissue in seconds. Security Chief Choi Min-ho was the oldest member of the crew at 45. He had served in the military before joining Li Jun's exploration team. "Sir, our ship is designed for scientific research, not combat. We have basic defensive shields and 2 small plasma cannons. Against a Vorthok dreadnought, we would last maybe 30 seconds. Li Jun understood their concerns. The Soul's Pride was a small vessel with a crew of only 28 people. They were explorers, not warriors. Their mission was to map unknown star systems and search for new worlds suitable for human colonization. But something bothered him about the recent attacks. Vorthok usually hunted alone or in pairs. They were territorial creatures who did not work well together. 3 ships, destroyed in 1 week, suggested something unusual was happening. "Plot a course around the Kepler sector," he finally decided. "We will maintain a safe distance but keep our sensors active. I want to know what is happening out there." Han So-young began programming the navigation system when her console suddenly lit up with an incoming signal. "Captain, I am receiving a transmission, very weak signal, heavily damaged." "Source?" Li Jun asked. "Unknown. The signal is coming from inside the Kepler sector." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew that entering Vorthok territory meant almost certain death, but rescue protocols were clear about responding to distress calls. "Put it through," Li Jun ordered. Static filled the bridge speakers. Through the noise, they could hear what sounded like explosions and the screech of tearing metal. Then, barely audible, came a voice speaking in the universal trade language used throughout the galaxy. Double quotes, "Anyone, please help, ship failing." They took the others. The signal faded for a moment, then returned, stronger. "Child, protect the child. Coordinates follow, A series of numbers came through before the transmission cut off completely. Kim Boer checked her instruments. "The coordinates are deep. In Vorthok space, at least 6 hours travel time at maximum speed. It could be a trap," Choi Min-ho warned. "Pirates sometimes use fake distress calls to lure rescue ships into ambushes." Park Hyun-woo studied the medical scanner readings from the transmission. The voice patterns show extreme stress and pain. If this is fake, it is very convincing. Li Jun stood and walked to the main viewing screen. Outside, the stars looked cold and distant. Somewhere among them, someone was calling for help. Someone who mentioned a child. "Sir," Han So-young said quietly, "military regulations say we should report this to the nearest patrol fleet and continue our mission." "Military regulations," Li Jun repeated. "What do the regulations say about children in danger?" The question hung in the air. Everyone on the bridge knew the answer. Human military code was clear about protecting non-combatants, especially children. It did not matter what species they were or where they came from. Choi Min-ho crossed his arms. "Captain, with respect, we do not even know if there really is a child involved. That transmission could have said anything. The translation systems are not perfect." "The word was clear," Li Jun said. "Child. In standard trade language, someone out there is asking us to protect a child." Kim Byora ran calculations on her engineering console. "If we go to those coordinates, we will be completely outside the range of any backup. No other human ships patrol that area. If we get into trouble, we are on our own." "And if there really is a child out there who needs help," Li Jun asked, "what happens if we choose to ignore the call?" The bridge crew exchanged glances. They had all signed up for exploration duty knowing the risks. They had faced dangerous situations before and always worked together as a team. But this was different. This was about choosing between safety and doing what was right. Park Hyun-woo was the first to speak. I became a doctor to help people, all people. If there is a child in danger, medical ethics require me to respond. Kim Bora nodded slowly. My job is to keep this ship running, no matter what we face. If the captain orders a rescue mission, I will make sure we have the power to complete it. Choi Minho remained silent for a long moment. Finally, he straightened. To attention. Sir, if we are going into Vorthok territory, I recommend we modify our weapon systems and prepare emergency protocols. We should also send a message to Human Command, explaining our intentions. Han Sojung turned in her chair to face the captain. What are your orders, sir? Lee Jun looked at each member of his crew. These people trusted him to make the right decisions. They would follow him into danger because they believed in him and in their mission. There is something about humans that other species do not understand, he said quietly. When we hear that a child is in danger, we do not think about the odds, we do not calculate the risks. We just know that we have to help. He moved to his command chair and activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. We have received a distress call from the Kepler sector. Someone is asking for help protecting a child. I know that sector is dangerous. I know we are risking our lives by responding, but I also know that if we do not go, we will never be able to live with ourselves. He paused, giving his words time to sink in throughout the ship. Any crew member who objects to this mission may request immediate transfer when we reach the next station. I will not think less of anyone who chooses personal safety over this rescue attempt, but I am going, and I hope you will come with me. The response was immediate. Voices came through the communication system from every department of the ship. Engineering, ready for rescue operations. Medical bay prepared for emergency treatment. Security teams standing by. Navigation plotting course to distress coordinates. Lee Jun felt pride swell in his chest. This was why he loved serving with humans. When faced with impossible choices, they consistently chose to help others, even at great personal cost. Set course for the coordinates, he ordered. Maximum speed. And send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we are attempting a rescue mission in Vorthok territory. If we do not report back in 24 hours, they should send a search team. As the Soul's Pride changed course toward the dangerous sector, Lee Jun thought about what they might find there. The Vorthok were the most feared predators in known space. Their ships were heavily armed and their crews were ruthless killers. But somewhere in that darkness, a child was in danger. And that made all the difference. The stars ahead looked the same as always, but now they held the promise of either heroic rescue or terrible death. The crew of the Soul's Pride was ready for either outcome, as long as they stayed true to their principles. Time to target, Lee Jun asked. 5 hours and 43 minutes at current speed, Han So-young replied. Very well, all departments maintain readiness. We are about to find out what it truly means to be human. The Soul's Pride dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates from the distress call. What they found made every crew member stare in shocked silence. A massive Vorthok dreadnought floated dead in space. The ship was 3 times larger than any human vessel, its black hull covered in spikes and weapon ports. But now those fearsome weapons were silent. Great tears in the metal showed where something had ripped through the armor like paper. Captain, Han So-young whispered, I am reading. Minimal life signs aboard that ship. Most of the crew is dead. Lee Jun studied the destroyed vessel on his main screen. He had seen pictures of Vorthok ships before, but never one this close. Even damaged, it looked like a nightmare made of metal and death. What could do this to a Vorthok dreadnought? Kim Bora asked. Their ships are built like fortresses. Choi Minho checked his tactical displays. The damage patterns are strange. This was not done by normal weapons. The metal looks like it was dissolved, rather than blown apart. I am detecting 2 life signs. Park Hyun-woo reported from his medical station. One is very weak and failing fast, the other is smaller but stable. Lee Jun felt his heart beat faster. A smaller life sign could mean a child. Can you tell what species? Both readings match Vorthok biological patterns. But the smaller one has different characteristics. Younger, less developed. A child, Lee Jun said quietly. The bridge crew looked at their captain. Everyone knew what he was thinking. Going aboard a Vorthok ship was suicide. Even a damaged one could contain traps or surviving crew members who would kill any intruders. Sir, Choi Minho said carefully, boarding that vessel would be extremely dangerous. Vorthok ships are designed to kill anyone who enters without permission, and we do not know what attacked it. That threat might still be nearby. The weak life sign is getting weaker, Park Hyun-woo reported. If someone is dying over there, they do not have much time left. Lee Jun made his decision. Prepare a boarding party. For people, including myself, full environmental suits and maximum protective gear. Captain, I strongly advise against this, Choi Minho said. Let me take a security team instead. No, if there is a child involved, they will be frightened. A large group of armed soldiers will only make things worse. Lee Jun stood from his command chair. Kim Bora, you come with me. We may need your engineering skills to get through their ship systems. Park Hyun-woo, bring medical supplies. We might have wounded to treat. And the fourth person, Choi Minho asked. Someone needs to watch our backs. 20 minutes later, the four-person team stood in the Seoul's Pride docking bay. They wore heavy environmental suits designed to protect against the Vorthok ship's poisonous atmosphere. Each suit had its own air supply and radiation shielding. Kim Biora carried a bag of technical tools and portable power supplies. Park Hyun-woo had his medical equipment and emergency treatment supplies. Choi Minho was armed with 2 plasma rifles and various non-lethal weapons. Remember, Lee Jun said as they prepared to cross to the alien ship, we are here to help. Keep your weapons ready, but do not fire unless directly attacked. If there is a child over there, they are probably terrified. The boarding tube extended from their ship and locked onto the Vorthok vessel. Red warning lights flashed as the systems detected the hostile atmosphere on the other side. Toxic gas levels are extreme, Kim Bora reported. Good thing we brought the heavy suits. They entered the alien ship through a damaged cargo bay. Inside, the walls were covered with a black substance that looked organic rather than metallic. Strange symbols glowed with dim red light, providing the only illumination. Stay together, Lee Jun ordered. Follow the life sign readings. Park Hyun-woo consulted his medical scanner. The strong signal is coming from deeper in the ship. The weak one is very close. They moved through corridors that were built for creatures much larger than humans. The ceilings were 3 meters high, and the doorways were wide enough for a small vehicle to pass through. Everything was designed to accommodate the massive Vorthok warriors. Captain, Choi Minho said quietly, look at these walls. The team stopped to examine the strange damage around them. The metal had been eaten away from the inside, leaving holes that went completely through the hull. Some areas looked like they had been dissolved by acid. What kind of weapon does this? Kim Bora wondered. They found the first body in a side corridor. The Vorthok warrior was huge, even by the standards of his species. Over 3 meters tall, with armor like skin and claws as long as human hands. But whatever had killed him had drained all the color from his body, leaving only a gray husk. The life force has been completely removed, Park Hyun-woo said after scanning the corpse. Like something sucked out all the energy that kept him alive. They found more bodies as they moved deeper into the ship. All showed the same signs of having their life energy drained away. The crew of the dreadnought had died in terror, their faces frozen in expressions of fear and pain. This way, Park Hyun-woo said, following his scanner. The weak life sign is just ahead. They entered what appeared to be the ship's command center. Banks of alien computers lined the walls, most of them dark and silent. In the center of the room, they found what they were looking for. A massive Vorthok lay dying on the floor, even larger than the warriors they had seen. This one wore elaborate armor that marked him as a ship commander. His breathing was shallow and his eyes were closing, but clutched in his huge arms was a small metal pod, no bigger than a human child. The pod had transparent sections that allowed them to see inside. Lee Jun's breath caught in his throat. Inside the pod was a young Vorthok, barely larger than a 10-year-old human child. The small creature was unconscious but alive, its chest rising and falling steadily. The dying commander's eyes opened as the humans approached. Instead of the rage they expected, they saw something else. Desperation, fear, and when his gaze fell on the pod he held something that looked almost like love. The Vorthok's mouth moved, making sounds they could not understand. Kim Biora quickly activated her universal translator device. Please, the mechanical voice said, converting the alien words to human speech. Please save her. Take Kethra far from here. Lee Jun knelt beside the massive dying creature. Up close, he could see that this Vorthok was different from the warriors. Older, with scars that spoke of many battles, but also with gentle hands that held the pod carefully despite his pain. The Void Hunters, the translator continued as the commander struggled to speak. They come for our young. They feed on life, energy. The children are strongest, most nourishing to them. Park Hyun-woo was already scanning the dying Vorthok with his medical equipment. Captain, he has massive internal injuries. Something drained most of his life force. I do not think I can save him. The commander's breathing became more labored. With great effort, he reached to a control panel on his armor and removed a small crystal. He pressed it into Lee Jun's gloved hand. Star charts, he whispered through the translator. Safe places for Vorthok Young. Take her to the nursery worlds. Keep her safe. Who are you? Lee Jun asked gently. Kethra's father, last guardian of this clutch. The commander's eyes closed for a moment, then opened again with great effort. You are human. I have heard of your species. You protect young ones, even those not your own. Yes, we do, Lee Jun said firmly. Then take her, raise her, Teach her to be strong, but also kind. The father's voice was fading. The Void Hunters will come again. They always hunt the young, but humans... Humans are different. You fight for others. Park Hyun-woo worked frantically with his medical equipment, but it was too late. The massive alien's life signs were failing rapidly. Thank you, the father whispered with his last breath. Thank you for giving her a chance. The command center fell silent, except for the quiet humming of the pod's life support systems. Inside, the child named Kethra slept peacefully, unaware that she was now an orphan. Lee Jun stood up slowly, still holding the crystal with the star charts. Kim Biora, can you interface with their computer systems? I want to know what happened here. Kim Biora connected her portable equipment to the alien computers. After several minutes, she was able to access their data files. Captain, you need to see this. The ship's logs show they were part of a convoy carrying Vorthok children to hidden nursery worlds. They were attacked by something called Void Hunters 3 hours ago. The Void Hunters looked like ships made of pure energy, shifting between solid and transparent states. When they attacked, beams of light struck the Vorthok vessels and began draining the life force from everyone aboard. The adults died quickly. Kim Biora continued, but the children in their protective pods survived longer. This ship tried to escape with as many young ones as possible, but the Void Hunters followed. Where are the other children? Choi Minho asked. Kim Biora's face became grim. Taken. The logs show 5 other pods were aboard when the attack began. Only this one remains. Lee Jun looked down at the sleeping child in the pod. Kethra was all that remained of an entire group of young Vorthok. Her father had died protecting her, and now that responsibility fell to the humans. We take her, he said simply. We take her, and we keep her safe. Captain, Choi Minho said quietly, do you understand what you are saying? We would be taking responsibility for raising a Vor. The Soul's Pride moved through empty space like a ghost ship. Inside the medical bay, Captain Lee Jun stood before the most dangerous passenger his ship had ever carried. The Vorthok child sat in the corner of the specially built containment room, her black eyes watching every movement the humans made. Kethra was small for her species, but even as a child she was as tall as Park Hyun-woo. Her chitinous shell gleamed under the medical bay lights. Sharp claws grew from her fingers, and her mouth held rows of needle-like teeth. When she breathed, small puffs of acidic vapor escaped her nostrils. She has not eaten anything in 2 days, Park Hyun-woo said quietly. He held a datapad that showed the child's vital signs. Her body temperature is dropping. If we cannot feed her soon, she will die. Lee Jun watched as Kethra pressed herself further into the corner. Every time someone moved, she made a low growling sound. Her claws scraped against the metal walls, leaving deep scratches in the reinforced steel. What do we know about Vorthok diet? Lee Jun asked. From what we can tell, they eat mostly meat. Raw meat, but their digestive system is different from ours. They need certain minerals that we do not have on this ship. Park Hyun-woo touched the datapad screen. I have been trying to create a substitute, but she refuses to touch anything we give her. Kim Biora entered the medical bay carrying a small device. Her engineering uniform was stained with grease, and her face showed tiredness. She had been working for hours to modify the ship's systems. The air filtration is working, she reported. Her breathing produces acid vapors that were eating through our ventilation system. I had to replace half the filters and add chemical neutral. She looked at Kethra through the transparent barrier. Her body temperature is also much higher than ours. The room cooling system is working at maximum power, just to keep her comfortable. Choi Minho stood near the door with his arms crossed. The security chief had not been happy about bringing the alien child aboard. Captain, we have bigger problems than feeding schedules. Long-range sensors are picking up movement in nearby systems. Something is following us. Lee Jun turned away from the child. How many ships? At least 6, maybe more. They move in a way I have never seen before, like they are not solid. Choi Minho pulled up a holographic display. Look at these sensor readings. The ships appear and disappear. Sometimes they look like energy, sometimes like matter. The Void Hunters, Lee Jun said quietly. The what? That is what the parent called them, the things that were hunting the child. Lee Jun looked back at Kethra. They harvest young predator species, drain their life force. Kim Biora stepped closer to the barrier. She is just a child. What kind of monsters hunt children? As if she understood the conversation, Kethra made a sound that was almost like crying. But instead of tears, her species produced a high-pitched whine that made the humans cover their ears. The sound was filled with fear and sadness. She knows, Park Hyun-woo said. Somehow, she knows they are coming. Lee Jun moved closer to the barrier wall. Kethra looked at him with her large black eyes. For a moment, he saw past the frightening appearance to the scared child underneath. We need to try a different approach, he said. She is not just afraid of us. She is afraid of everything. She just lost her parent. She is in a strange place with strange beings. Of course, she will not eat. What do you suggest? Park Hyun-woo asked. We need to show her that we are not threats, that we want to help. Li Jun thought for a moment. Kimbora, can you modify the barrier to allow small objects through? Yes, but why? Trust me. 20 minutes later, Li Jun sat on the floor outside the barrier. In his hands he held a small piece of cooked meat from their emergency rations. Kimbora had created a small opening in the barrier wall, just big enough for food to pass through. Kethra watched him carefully. When he placed the meat near the opening, she backed away and hissed. Li Jun did not move. He simply sat there. Holding the food, he began to speak in a soft voice. I know you are scared. I know everything seems dangerous right now, but we are not going to hurt you. We want to help. The child did not understand his words, but she seemed to understand his tone. Her hissing stopped. Your parent asked us to keep you safe. We gave our word. Humans do not break their word when it comes to protecting children. Park Hyunwoo and Kimbora watched from the side of the room. They had never seen their captain act this way before. Li Jun was usually all business, making quick decisions and giving orders. Now he sat patiently like he had all the time in the world. Hours passed. Other crew members came and went, but Li Jun remained sitting by the barrier. Sometimes he talked softly to Kethra. Sometimes he just sat quietly. The child gradually moved closer to the barrier wall. Captain, Choi Minho's voice came through the communication system. The unknown ships are getting closer. They will reach us in 4 hours. Understood, Li Jun replied, but he did not move from his position. Kethra had crept close enough to see the food clearly. Her nostrils flared as she smelled it. Li Jun could see that she was very hungry, but still too afraid to take the risk. It is okay, he said gently. Take it. You need to eat. Very slowly, Kethra reached one clawed hand toward the opening. Her hand shook with fear. Just as her fingers touched the food, the ship's alarm system activated. All hands to battle stations. Unknown vessels approaching fast. The loud noise, terrified Kethra. She scrambled back to her corner, making frightened sounds. All the progress Li Jun had made disappeared in seconds. Captain, we need you on the bridge, Choi Minho called. Li Jun stood up slowly. He looked at Kethra, who was now shaking with fear in the corner. The child's eyes were wide with terror. We'll be back, he promised her. We will not let anything happen to you. As he walked toward the door, he heard a small sound behind him. When he turned around, he saw that Kethra had moved toward the barrier again. She was reaching for the food with one shaking hand. That is it, he said softly. You are braver than you know. On the bridge, the main screen showed 6 strange ships approaching from different directions. They moved like liquid energy, shifting between solid and transparent states. They are not like anything in our databases, Choi Minho reported. Energy readings are off the scale. They seem to be made of pure life force. The Void Hunters, Li Jun said. They feed on living energy. That is why they want the child. What are our orders, Captain? Li Jun looked at the approaching ships. His small exploration vessel was no match for even one of these creatures, let alone 6. Any sane captain would surrender or try to run. But in the medical bay below, a scared child was finally eating the food he had given her. She had chosen to trust him, even though everything in her young life told her to be afraid. We fight, he said. We protect the child, no matter what. Kimbora checked her engineering. Reports, sir. Our weapons are not designed for combat. We have basic defensive systems only. Then we will have to be creative. Li Jun sat in his captain's chair. Send a message on all human emergency frequencies. Tell them we have a child who needs protection. Any ships in the area, we could use help. Sir, there are no human ships within 2 days travel time. Send it anyway. Maybe we will get lucky. As the Void Hunter ships grew closer, Li Jun thought about the small creature in the medical bay. Kethra was learning to trust them, one small step at a time. She was choosing hope over fear. The humans would do the same. They would choose to fight impossible odds rather than abandon a child. It was what made them human. All hands, prepare for combat, Li Jun announced. We have a child to protect. 4. The pack protects its own. The Soul's pride shook as the first Void Hunter ship fired its energy weapon. Captain Li Jun gripped his chair as the lights flickered throughout the ship. Their small vessel was like a tiny fish surrounded by sharks. Shields, down to 60%. Kimbora called from her engineering station. That was just a warning shot. They are testing our defenses. Through the main screen, Li Jun watched the 6 alien ships circle his vessel. They moved like living shadows, their forms shifting between solid matter and pure energy. When they came close, the temperature on the bridge dropped and crew members felt dizzy. They are draining our life energy just by being near us, Park Hyunwoo said from his medical station. Heart rates are increasing across the ship. Some crew members are reporting weakness. Captain, Choi Minho said urgently. Incoming transmission on human emergency frequencies. Li Jun felt a spark of hope. Put it through. A strong female voice filled the bridge. Soul's pride. This is Commander Song Hanul of the destroyer Bison's Thunder. We received your message about a child needing protection. We are 30 minutes out. Before Li Jun could respond, Another voice joined the channel. This is Captain Yoon Tae-young of the medical frigate Healing Hand. We have been tracking your situation. No child gets hurt while humans are watching. Then a third voice. Captain Jung Yoon-ji here, commanding supply ship Mountain's Gift. We may not have big guns, but we have supplies and the will to use them. Lee Jun stared at the communication panel in amazement. How many ships are coming? 12 confirmed so far, the communication officer reported. More are responding every minute. Word is spreading through the human networks. Commander Song Hanul's voice came through again. Captain Lee, we know you have rescued a Vorthok child. Half the galaxy thinks you are crazy. The other half thinks you are heroes. Guess which side we are on? The Void Hunter's ships suddenly stopped circling. They had detected the approaching human fleet and were deciding what to do. Their energy forms pulsed with what looked like anger. They do not like having their hunt interrupted, Choi Minho observed. In the medical bay, Kethra had eaten the food Lee Jun left for her. Park Hyun-woo was carefully monitoring her health through the barrier. The child seemed to sense the danger around the ship. She had stopped making frightened sounds and was now completely still, like a predator waiting. Her body temperature is rising, Park Hyun-woo reported over the communication system. Her stress hormones are at dangerous levels. She knows something bad is happening. Keep her calm, Lee Jun replied. Help is coming. The first human ship to arrive was not the destroyer, but a small cargo vessel called New Seoul. Captain Park Ji-ho had been the closest when he heard the emergency call. Seoul's Pride. This is New Seoul. I know I am just a cargo hauler, but no one hurts kids on my watch. The Void Hunters immediately attacked the new arrival. Their energy weapons struck the cargo ship's shields, but something unexpected happened. The ship shook but did not lose power the way most vessels would. Interesting, Kim Bira said, studying her sensors. Human ships seem more resistant to their energy drain than other species. Our life force signatures are different. Captain Park Ji-ho's voice came through with excitement. These things hit hard, but they cannot drain our systems like they do to others. We can fight them. More human ships began arriving. Commander Song Hanul's destroyer Bison's Thunder dropped out of hyperspace with weapons charging. Captain Yoon Tae-young's medical frigate took position to provide support. One by one, human vessels formed a protective circle around the Soul's Pride. The Void Hunters seemed confused by this development. They were used to hunting alone creatures who ran when faced with danger. They had never encountered a species that came together to protect others. All human ships. This is Commander Song Hanul, formed defensive formation around Seoul's Pride. No one gets through to that child. The battle began in earnest. The Void Hunters attacked from all directions, their energy weapons lighting up space like deadly fireworks. But the human ships fought back with determination that surprised their enemies. Captain Jung Yoonji's supply ship might not have had military weapons, but she had something else. All ships. I am launching supply drones loaded with medical supplies. And spare parts, we keep each other fighting. The human fleet worked together like they had trained for years. When one ship's shields failed, another moved to cover it. When weapons overheated, supply drones delivered cooling systems. The medical frigate sent emergency teams to damaged vessels. In the middle of the battle, something remarkable happened in the Seoul's Pride medical bay. Kethra had been watching Park Hyun-woo work at his medical station through the barrier. When the ship shook from enemy fire, she saw him fall and hit his head. For the first time since coming aboard, Kethra spoke. Not in her own language, but trying to copy human words she had heard. Help, help, human. Park Hyun-woo looked up in amazement. Blood ran down his face from the cut on his forehead, but he was more shocked by hearing the alien child speak than by his injury. You want to help me? He asked. Kethra pressed her clawed hands against the barrier. Help, protect. The young Vorthok had begun to understand something important. These humans were fighting impossible odds to keep her safe. They were risking their lives for her, even though she was not their species. On the bridge, the battle was not going well. More Void Hunters ships had arrived, bringing their total to 15. The human fleet was outnumbered and outgunned. Commander Song, we cannot hold this position much longer. Captain Park Ji-ho reported. His cargo ship was badly damaged but still fighting. We do not retreat. Heated supply drones delivered cooling systems. The medical frigate sent emergency teams to damaged vessels. In the middle of the battle, something remarkable happened in the Seoul's Pride medical bay. Kethra had been watching Park Hyun-woo work at his medical station through the barrier. When the ship shook from enemy fire, she saw him fall and hit his head. For the first time since coming aboard, Kethra spoke. Not in her own language, but trying to copy human words she had heard. Help, help human. Park Hyun-woo looked up in amazement. Blood ran down his face from the cut on his forehead, but he was more shocked by hearing the alien child speak than by his injury. You want to help me? He asked. Kethra pressed her clawed hands against the barrier. Help, protect the young. Vorthok had begun to understand something important. These humans were fighting impossible odds to keep her safe. They were risking their lives for her, even though she was not their species. On the bridge, the battle was not going well. More Void Hunter ships had arrived, bringing their total to 15. The human fleet was outnumbered and outgunned. Commander Song, we cannot hold this position much longer, Captain Park Ji-ho reported. His cargo ship was badly damaged, but still fighting. We do not retreat, Commander Song Hanul replied firmly. That child is under human protection now. We hold the line. Li Jun watched as the Bison's thunder took heavy damage protecting his ship. Good people were dying for a child they had never met, simply because it was the right thing to do. All ships, he announced on the fleet frequency, I want you to know what you are fighting for. This child lost her parent. She was alone and scared. She had no one else. But now she has us. She has chosen to trust humans, even though we are strange to her. She calls us protectors. Captain Yoon Tae-young's voice came through the communication system. Then we better live up to that name. The human ships pressed their attack with renewed determination. They moved like a pack protecting their young, each vessel supporting the others. When the supply ship Mountain's Gift was surrounded by 3 Void Hunters, 4 other ships immediately moved to help her. These humans fight like no species we have encountered. One of the Void Hunters transmitted to its companions. They show no fear of death when protecting others. But the human fleet was taking heavy losses. 2 ships had been destroyed, and several others were barely functioning. The Soul's Pride itself had taken damage that left it with limited power. In the medical bay, Kethra watched Park Hyun-woo work to keep the ship's medical systems running. She had seen him risk his safety to help injured crew members. She had watched him worry about her health even when explosions shook the ship. Slowly, the young Vorthok began to understand what family meant. It was not just about sharing the same blood or species. It was about choosing to protect each other, no matter the cost. More human ships incoming, the communication officer announced. 20 additional vessels dropping out of hyperspace. The new arrivals were not military ships. They were cargo haulers, passenger transports, mining vessels, and research ships. Ordinary humans who had heard the call and come to help protect a child. This is Captain Kong Min-soo of the transport vessel Hope's Journey. We may not be fighters, but we will not let a child be harmed. The Void Hunters found themselves facing not just a small rescue fleet, but an entire human armada that had gathered from across nearby space. Every ship carried people who had decided that protecting one alien child was worth risking everything. As the reinforcements engaged the enemy, Li Jun felt something he had not expected. Pride, not in himself, but in his species. Humanity had shown its true nature today, and it was beautiful. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates from Kethra's father's crystal. What they found was both wonderful and terrible. A beautiful blue-green world hung in space before them, surrounded by 3 small moons. The planet looked peaceful and alive, with white clouds swirling over vast oceans and green continents. This was one of the secret Vorthok nursery worlds where their young were raised in safety. But the safety was gone. Around the planet, a massive battle was taking place. Captain Han So-young reported from the Soul's Pride Bridge. I count 47 Void Hunter ships attacking the planetary defenses. The Vorthok fleet is losing badly. Commander Song Hanul's voice came through the fleet communication channel. All human ships. This is worse than we expected. The enemy has been here for hours. Most of the Vorthok defensive fleet has been destroyed. Li Jun watched the battle on his main screen. Vorthok warships, each one larger and more powerful than any human vessel, were being torn apart by the energy weapons of the Void Hunters. The alien predators that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were now the ones being hunted. How many children are on that planet? He asked. Kim Biora checked the data from the crystal. According to these files, over 10,000 young Vorthok live in the nursery cities. All of them under 20 years old. In the medical bay, Kethra had been watching the humans prepare for battle. She had learned more human words during their journey and could now speak simple sentences. When she saw the planet on the medical bay screen, she pressed her clawed hands against the viewing port. Home, she said in her rough attempt at human speech. My people, save them. Park Hyun-woo looked at the young Vorthok with sadness. We will try, little one. Your human family will try. The human fleet was massively outnumbered. 32 human ships against 47 Void Hunters. Most of the human vessels were not even military ships. They were cargo haulers, passenger transports, and research vessels crewed by ordinary people who had come to protect one child. This is hopeless, Captain Park Ji-ho transmitted from his damaged cargo ship. We cannot fight that many enemy vessels and win. We do not need to win, Li Jun replied. We just need to buy time for the children to escape. Commander Song Hanul was studying tactical displays on her destroyer. Captain Lee is right. Our job is not to defeat the Void Hunters. Our job is to protect those children long enough to get them to safety. Captain Yoon Tae-young's medical frigate was already moving toward the planet. I am detecting evacuation ships leaving the surface. Looks like the Vorthok are trying to get their young to safety, but the Void Hunters are hunting down every escape pod. Li Jun made a decision that would change everything. He activated the fleet-wide communication system and spoke on all frequencies, including those used by the Void Hunters. "This is Captain Li Jun of the human exploration vessel, Soul's Pride. I am speaking to all ships in this system, both human and Void Hunter." The battle around the planet paused as his transmission reached every vessel. "We are here because we rescued a Vorthok child whose parent asked us to protect her. That child is now part of our human family. We consider all the children on this planet to be under our protection." He paused, letting his words sink in throughout the system. "This is humanity's message to the Void Hunters. You can fight us if you want. You can try to drain our life energy, but you will not harm these children. Not while humans draw breath." The response from the Void Hunters was immediate and terrifying. All 47 enemy ships turned away from the planet and focused their attention on the human fleet. "Well, Commander Song," Hanul said dryly, "that got their attention." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Void Hunters attacked with fury, their energy weapons lighting up space like deadly fireworks. But the human ships fought back with a determination that amazed even their enemies. Captain Zheng Yungi's supply ship Mountain's Gift was the first to be surrounded. 5 Void Hunter vessels moved to drain her ship's energy and crew, but instead of surrendering, she did something unexpected. "All human ships, this is Zheng Yungi. I am ramming the enemy flagship. Take care of those kids for me." Her supply ship, loaded with fuel and spare parts, smashed into the largest Void Hunter vessel and exploded in a ball of fire that destroyed both ships. The explosion lit up the darkness and gave the other human vessels hope. "She bought us time," Commander Song Hanul announced. "Make it count." The human fleet spread out, using tactics they had never trained for but somehow understood instinctively. They fought like a pack, protecting their young, each ship supporting the others. When Captain Kong Minsu's transport was losing power to a Void Hunter energy drain, 3 other ships immediately moved to help him. When the medical frigate was surrounded, cargo haulers and research vessels formed a protective circle around it. On the planet's surface, young Vorthok were being loaded into escape ships as fast as possible. The children looked up at the sky, where bright lights flashed as humans fought and died to protect them. "Why do the small ones fight so hard?" one young Vorthok asked her teacher. "Because they are human," the teacher replied. "They protect all children, even those not their own species." In space, the battle was taking a terrible toll on the human fleet. Park Hyun-woo's voice came through the communication system from the Soul's Pride medical bay. "Captain, I need to tell you something. Kethra is not just watching this battle, she is feeling it. Vorthok, young have psychic connections to their people. She can sense every child on that planet." As if to prove his point, Kethra suddenly cried out in the medical bay. But it was not a cry of fear. It was a sound of rage, pure focused anger at seeing her human protectors being hurt. The young Vorthok had been learning about human emotions during her time on the ship. She had learned about love and kindness and protection, but now she was learning about something else. She was learning about justice. "The enemy ships," Kim Biora reported suddenly. "They are slowing down. Their energy levels are fluctuating." On the bridge of the Soul's Pride, strange readings began appearing on all the sensors. The Void Hunters, who fed on life energy, were being affected by something unexpected. In the medical bay, Kethra was standing in her containment area with her eyes closed and her small hands pressed against the walls. She was concentrating harder than she had ever done in her short life. "What is she doing?" Li Jun asked Park Hyun-woo. "I am not sure, but her brain activity is off the charts. She is using abilities we did not know she had." The young Vorthok was doing something that no one had thought possible. She was turning her psychic connection with her people into a weapon. Every young Vorthok on the planet could feel her emotions, and she could feel theirs. 10,000 frightened children suddenly felt what Kethra felt. They felt the love and protection of the humans who were dying for them. They felt the courage of people who would fight impossible odds to keep children safe. And in return, Kethra felt their response. 10,000 young minds joined with hers. In a psychic scream of defiance that echoed across space itself, the Void Hunters, creatures made of pure energy, suddenly found their own energy being disrupted. The psychic wave from the children was interfering with their ability to maintain their ship forms. "Enemy vessels are losing cohesion," Choi Minho reported in amazement. "Whatever that child is doing, it is working." But the effort was draining. Kethra quickly. Park Hyun-woo watched her vital signs drop as she poured all her strength into protecting her human family and her people. "Captain, she cannot keep this up much longer. The strain is too much for her young mind." Li Jun looked at the tactical display. Half the human fleet was gone, but the remaining ships were still fighting. The Void Hunters were weakened but not defeated, and there were still thousands of children on the planet who needed protection. "All human ships," he announced. "The child is giving us a chance. We use it. Cover those evacuation ships. Get every last child to safety." The remaining human vessels pressed their attack with renewed determination. Captain Yoon, Taeyong's medical frigate, moved close to the planet to help with evacuations, even though it meant flying through enemy fire. This is Yoon Taeyong. I have room for 200 children aboard my ship. Sending coordinates for pickup. One by one, the evacuation ships lifted off from the planet's surface. Human vessels escorted them through the battle zone. Taking hits meant for the ships full of children. In the Soul's Pride medical bay, Kethra collapsed. Her small body could not handle the psychic strain anymore, but she had done enough. The last of the evacuation ships was clear of the planet. All children safely away from the surface, Commander Song Hanul reported. The nursery world is empty. The Void Hunters, realizing their prey had escaped, began to retreat. But before they left, their leader sent a message to the human fleet. Do not understand your species, humans. You fight and die for children that are not your own. This makes no sense to us. Li Jun activated his communication system one last time. Then you will never understand what makes us human. We protect children because it is right, not because it makes sense. The surviving human vessels gathered around the Soul's Pride. They had lost 16 ships and over 300 crew members. But they had saved 10,000 children.